So here we are for testing. This is the moment of truth. I will power on the Nucleus. It will boot up. And then, yes,
That's it, baby.
that is better.
That's it, baby. That's the way to get it done. That's it.
For these sliders, I remarked something very strange, and it is in fact very obvious. These contacts, these sliders are made of metal, and this mixer can detect if you are putting your finger on the slider, and therefore these caps are also metal, also at the back side. So if you are looking at the back side, it's totally metallized, and that is not made functional, so that contact of the metal of the slider to the cap is also conducting. And therefore you see, if I want to move this contact and I use my nail to make another contact, then the motor gets active and it will resist, so it will not move. But if I made my finger on it, so it contact, the motor is shut off and I can very easily slide this potentiometer. So make very sure that these caps are not changed by some not metal, because they are functional. So they are conducting your finger contact, and it will detect if your finger is on it. So another demonstration of this slide. The motor is very active now, so it will not move. You see, it will directly turn to the base, and if I made my finger on it, I directly can slide it without. So if I was also refurbishing this potentiometer, you could also see that there is an extra contact that is detecting this metal slide, and then there's a sort of detection system in this mixer that detects if your finger is on a slide or not. Very clever, very clever. So make sure that you're not changing your caps by non-metal, because it will not work anymore. So here there is the small fan mounted. This was just a fan that I had already in my collection, also with 4 wire, so it can be controlled by this eBay fan controller. And on the second bracket, that will be mounted in this way at the power supplies. There's a second fan also a fan that I had already in my collection. It's a 50mm fan, and this is, I think, a 30mm fan. So this is the mounting. I have just with a little file made some gaps in these two PCBs, and there's where the fan wire is going to be mounted. So the main fan power supply is taken from this 100 watts power switching supply. There is additionally in fact there is a extra minus 15 volts on this power supply that is not used. You can see it on this mark. There's a 5 volt, a 15 volt 3 amps and a minus 15 volt 0.8 amps, and this minus 15 volt is not used. So what I've done, I take the minus 15 volt and I make it in inverse polarity on the wires. So I connect the red wire on the ground and the black wire on the minus 15 volts. That gives me a plus 15 volts that is supplied on this 7812 power regulator, and then it transforms to 12 volts for my fan controller. Because the whole fan controller is galvanic separated from the rest of the whole circuitry, therefore this is possible to connect the minus 15 volts in this way. And then also you see the NTC, the temperature. I get it from eBay, and there I position it. There's my 50K NTC that I'm mounting next to this heatsink, because this heatsink is becoming very warm, and then it controls the fan regulator that is available on eBay, as very much of my stuff is. So this is the main fan bracket with on the back side power regulator mounted and sort of beeper for the fan controller. This beeper gives an alarm when the fans are not running anymore, and it sounds a warning message. So now I will mount this bracket at these two holes that I drilled at the side of the chassis. In this way, it's very easy. So there we are. The main fan is mounted very tight with two locking nuts extra, because I want to make sure that it's not coming loose in any way, and therefore I make always two extra nuts. The fan, I have mounted it with a little bit rubber in between, underneath and at the nuts, so it will not distribute the vibrations on the chassis. Same way I do it with the 35mm fan. I have measured it. It is a 35mm fan. It's a very strange measurement, but that is the fan that I have in my collection, so I use it where I can. Also here the extra locking nuts, and then we are ready for testing. So my main PCB is on the back side, and I will power it on and see what it's doing. Yes, very nice. Both fans are running on 20%. Temperature sensor will detect the temperature and will it run to 100%. You can adapt it with the dip switches on the controller. So you can adapt it. On the back side of the PC of this controller PCB is written very clear, indicated very clear how the switching is for the dip switches. So it's very easy to use. Available on eBay. That's the nice of eBay. If you don't have eBay, get a credit card, because it will save you lots of time and money. So it is also very quiet. That is very important for this kind of measurement equipment, audio equipment, I'm sorry. Because if you get too much noise in your studio, it is not, you cannot work about it. So that's it. For this fan board, there's a temperature sensor. It's running with the coiled wire, and there you see the metal temperature sensor. It is a 50 kiloohms NTC. I put it in this way, but for this moment I want to make some insulation tape for this sensor, because it is metal and maybe there can be shorts in this way. So I use Kapton tape for the sensor to isolate it. This 50K sensor is available on eBay. It's very easy to pull it out. It fits just in this way. Very nice. I will put some Kapton tape around it and I put it back so it's better isolated, because it is a metal part and maybe it can cause shorts on this spot. That is not what I want. So here's my insulated Kapton tape NTC thermistor, and Kapton tape you can buy it at Farnell or Arras or DG or some electronic shop. It's very easy to use, very high temperature, good insulating. There we are. You see the sensor is isolated with Kapton tape and with a little bit white thermal compound coupled to the heatsink of the secondary stage of this DC-DC converter, AC-DC converter, I'm sorry. So that's the way to fit it. It has a tight fit and it's very nice. So it is not necessary to mechanical glue or something this NTC. This way it is also possible to remove it easily when it's necessary.